dementia residents are really given credit for their efforts, their stoicism, their strength and their resilience, because when they enter the unit they have to renounce more than a monk, and their sentence is the most stringent in terms of having to give up alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, favourite foods, liberties of all sorts, iPhone, liberty to move, to walk outside, communication, etc. Even a landline is difficult for them, but even for them to get access to, but even with all these restrictions, all this renunciation, all this difficulty, still, when you go into a dementia unit, you will be greeted by beautiful, warm, generous smiles. That these wonderful people have such strength and resilience that they can shine for us when we walk in from the outside world. We can learn so much from them as a result of this. So just to go into a few examples of these dementia residents and what they have to cope with and how they get the strength to be able to give to visitors when they come into the unit. So just as I mentioned about the smiles, there was one gentleman in the dementia facility that I worked at, and he'd been an architect. He was a very upstanding man. He'd been, pivotal in the community, Rotary and Lions and all those, societies that men belong to. And he had a charming family, a beautifully set up room with one little fish that was his favourite friend. He was aphasic and he didn't speak, he really couldn't speak at all. He understood, he was intelligent, that was clear, but he couldn't get the words out. And practically the only thing he'd say clearly was good-o, good-o. And, he'd smile, he'd greet people. Well, he'd say hi, that's an easy word. And smile, greet people, never complained, never got down, never got distressed. He was so strong and so resilient. It was remarkable because he was quite physically disabled. He had Parkinson's, so his gait was appallingly difficult because he had that festinating gait and very poor balance, which is so dangerous and can be scary. But he just rose above it, no fear, never mind, carry on, and he'd walk away. He didn't have any falls miraculously, and he did have a lovely supportive family that came in often, but he didn't really make many friends because of his speech. He wasn't able to communicate. But within that, he still had that lovely, shining, fabulous smile and positive, warm presence. And because of that, everyone liked him. Staff, other relatives, residents, he was very well liked. And where he got that strength from to be like that after such a magnificent life. He'd been a famous architect here in Christchurch, beautiful buildings he'd designed. He had a book of his beautiful work in his room, which I flicked through, and it was so impressive, but still within that, when he was subjected to so many restrictions, he was able to smile and shine and be a beacon really for everyone at the unit. And this is not uncommon. This is not uncommon with dementia residents. And this is how we can gain and learn from their strength and endurance and resilience, that they can, adjust so remarkably. I mean, many of these people have been wealthy, very wealthy in their own right. In the facilities I've worked at, they've been, big landowners, property owners, had massive great farms in the South Island, great big, stations, and still within that they're able to, all that's gone, isn't it? I mean, they have no access to that anymore, and often little funds as well. Often it's difficult for them even to get a newspaper or a lipstick, after everything they've had, it's just amazing. And that they just have to survive on so little often. I mean, some families are generous and good and go out of their way to get things for their parent, but many are, live a long way away and they don't get the time or whatever to be able to come and address all these needs. And so the patient resident is left, having to fend for themselves a lot of the time, and they do remarkably well. Having to process those emotions, imagine the anxiety and the anguish, and often the anger of course being the difficult one, but anxiety and anguish being the most common experience that they have to working through those feelings when they first come in, and being subjected to all those restrictions, and really not having any process in place for them to be able to work through those feelings. I mean, you know, as I said, there's not an AA or a group that they can go to, or it's not addressed at the unit. I mean, there's so many things that have to be addressed at a unit in terms of cares and medications, and just looking after the people is just a more than full-time job for the carers. So they haven't got time to work through feelings of the dementia resident. So that's why it's important with your relative in terms of being able to help in a positive way, for them to work through those feelings, is just to be considerate of these issues for a start, that they're having to give up so much, having to work through so much, and to, you know, they're having to work through all those feelings, which is extremely difficult. I mean, it is stressful, of course, because it's stressful for the relative as well as the resident. Often the relative is stressed out, so that can make it, you know, doubly difficult. But as much as you can, when you come into the facility, if you can, you know, take that time beforehand to get yourself into a calm state of mind. And when you come, see the best situation for your mother, rather than just sitting with her in the lounge where she's sitting and just staying there, just assessing, you know, doing that detective work and assessing where would be best for her to be with you while you're there, and at least can help. So if she's really wound up and anxious, when you arrive, you can say, "Oh, hi, Mum, you know, Sue, I'm here," you know, and she'll be happy to see you. And just say, "Look, I can see you're a little bit anxious. Would you like to go down and lie down on your bed, or would you like to go for a walk?" Like, giving two options is always a nice, you know, easy options. Two options rather than three. It can be too confusing, but either one or the other they can choose. Which one would you like to do? And she might say, "Oh, I want to lie down on my bed, but I can't remember where it is." So you can guide her. And actually a good way to guide, if she's feeling a little bit confused as well and going through a bit of dementia stress, you know, the hand-on-hand grip. It's a really lovely grip, like so. And then just guiding her by the elbow, so that then she's got a nice support. She's got your hand and she can just be guided by you, so that if she's confused, you know, she can just walk with you to her room without having to think of too much else. And then when you get her to the room, you can say, "Oh, would you like to lie down?" And she, yes, you know, she can lie down and have a rest. So in this way, this helps them endure, you know, these experiences, and to work through their feelings and have your support, you know, tuning into their emotions and what is, you know, needed at the time, whether it's lying down or a walk outside for them to get some exercise. Or maybe they're hungry, maybe they need a drink of water. You know, working all these things out with them and for them goes a long way to be able to help them endure and accept and assimilate and eventually adjust, hopefully, to the dementia unit, where they can make friends and be part of the community. But that first month or two is a you know, really important time to be able to give them that support, so they can assimilate and accept and become part of the dementia unit. And, you know, they are strong people. This elderly age group are very strong, and that they can manage and they will manage, but they do need that support, most of them, to be able to assimilate. So that's it for today, for the strength and stoicism and marvellous resilience that the residents have, that we can learn so much from. I've written these two books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit. In the description below, the website pietavalentine.com has all the information and excerpts. Thank you for your likes and subscriptions. I really appreciate this for the channel, and please pass on to friends or family that need help. Thank you.